All right, hello, everyone. It is Brenda here for Stamplicity, and welcome to What's Up Wednesday. All right, so this evening we are going to kind of explore Dare2B Artzy. It is a company that's been around for a while, and we've carried it here and there. And I've always loved their designs, and I want to show you how wonderful they are. I selected one of the stamp and die sets from the collection, but I do encourage you to check out the rest of the items we do have from them because they have some really great stamp sets, as well as some great dies as well. But I really wanted to showcase what you can do with their stamp and die sets. And I've chosen this one here, and this one is called Let Hope Bloom. When you look at Dare2B Artsy stamps, there's always focal images, all right? And then there is also some really great sentiments. There's going to be matching dies, but they also have really great sentiment stamps as well. So I encourage you to check them out on our website. And I love the simplicity of them, all right? They're not overly detailed. They are easy images to color. So we're going to make a few cards with this set, Let Hope Bloom. Show you some really great ways of using them, show you a tip or two throughout the next hour, and let's make some cards, all right? So welcome to everyone joining us live as well as on the replay. All right, if you have any questions throughout the live, please pop them in the comments, and I'll answer them as best I can. And let's get going, all right? So again, this is Let Hope Bloom. I've used it for a few things here, but this one will have two kind of larger floral clusters, all right? So we've got the kind of the straight one. I'm going to call this a straight one, all right? And it's a couple inches high, which is great. And then we have this more curved one, and you can see I've used it a few times. It's well used, and it kind of curves around with the floral clusters there. Then on this one, you're going to have a few kind of main words. The big word is bloom, and then you have a couple of little sentiments that go with it, with courage and let hope. All right, so you can mix and match. Then you also have the word recover, rest, and renew, which I love. You don't see these words typically on a sentiment set, but these are good for anyone that's had surgery. Maybe someone has had an injury, so I think it's just really great, those little sentiments on there. And then you have a longer one that says a little note to brighten your day. So a few different ways that you can use this for different occasions. All right, so that is the stamp set. And of course, then there is the coordinating die set, and everything cuts out with this one. All right, so everything that's on the stamp set will have a coordinating die, which I love because that just gives you a little bit more versatility on how to use them. That means you can pop things up, you can lay things flat. You can do some down, some popped, right? So that's what I love when you have dies with it. All right, so that's what we're going to use. And I'm going to be using a couple of kind of interactive dies from Uniquely Creative. So I'll share that information with you when we get there. Yeah. Oh, well, you know what? There's one more thing I want to say. What I do also love about Dare2B Artsy is that usually with any of their collections or stamps and dies that are part of a collection, they will also have pattern paper that matches these ones. All right. So this particular stamp set is from the Whimsy collection. And in the Whimsy collection, there was like 3 or 4, maybe more. I can't remember now, but different stamp and die sets. All right. And each of them then had a coordinating pattern paper. So this one here is the Whimsy from the Whimsy collection, and this one is called Let Hope Bloom. All right. So this is the one that matches it. But you'll notice the florals are identical to the florals on the stamp set. And then the die is kind of fun because if you're going to pick this up, then I encourage you to pick up some of the pattern papers. Let me just get you the bigger sheet here because this one is not going to show very well. All right. So what the pattern repeats on the pattern paper, and then you'll notice I've used the die cut to die cut some of the florals from here. All right. So that's kind of cool. So if you need a quick and simple card and you have the die cut and the pattern paper, you can just die cut them and you don't have to worry about coloring them, which is a bonus. All right. So I encourage you, if you purchase any kind of stamp and die set from Dare2B Artsy, double check to see if there's some pattern paper to go with it, because it just makes life so much easier. This is another one from the collection. This is called Spread Your Wings, and there is a stamp and die set called Spread Your Wings that's going to have the birds, and then of course the die cuts that go with it will cut out some of the elements on the pattern paper, which is kind of a bonus. So that is pretty fun as well. Their paper is very colorful, and the patterns, you will notice that, yeah, they can be a little bit bold, but on the back side, you always get a great kind of neutral pattern, like a polka dot or a stripe, but it matches really nicely throughout the whole collection. And okay, let's get going. I've talked enough, right? Okay, so before I get started, I do want to show you a really cool tip and technique. Actually, we were doing this, and the first card I'm going to be creating was something that we prepped for one of our crops. All right, this was a make and take for our croppers, and we had one left over. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to show them this one here. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of prepping when we have a crop. And so stamping all these, stamping and die cutting all these florals and sentiments can be time consuming. All right. So what we do is when we're mass producing is that we'll do all the die cutting first and then the stamping. And I know, just let that set in. All right. Usually we stamp and then we take the die cut and put it around our stamped image and then die cut it. But then there's a lot of lining up, and it's very time consuming. So we do the opposite when we're mass producing. We die cut first and then we do the stamping. All right. So let me just show you this and then we'll get started on the card making, because this is always like, if you don't know this, this is always like kind of mind blowing. Okay, so what I've done here is I have multiple of those lovely florals, all right, from the stamp set. And we've just used, I want to make sure I have them all here. Okay, and we just use the dies and we just cut them out of white paper. All right, so no stamp on there. We just lay the die on white paper, cardstock, and die cut. So we will do that. So if I need 60 of these ones, we can easily die cut 60 of these ones. And then we have these blank ones. All right, so we have that one, and we do the same thing with the single floral. All right, so we've die cut those. Then we want to, what I say is create a jig or save one of your die cut papers. And this is what I mean. This is my jig, all right? So this was a scrap, a piece of white paper that we've die cut the larger floral and the smaller floral from. And I've saved that, all right? This is going to become my jig. So now what I can do is I can take my little jig and put it in my stamp platform. So now I can go ahead and I can stamp this, and I don't have to worry about lining up a die. I don't have to worry about lining up a die or a stamp every time we go to stamp it, because I'm using my stamp positioner and I'm using the jig. All right, so it's a one-time kind of thing to line up your stamp, and then I can stamp as many as I want on all the die cuts we've already previously die cut. This is all going to make sense in a second. All right, so we're going to start with the larger floral here. All right, so I've got my jig. I'm going to go ahead and grab the stamp now. Okay, so we have our stamp, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that stamp and I'm going to use my jig and kind of line it up right in that jig. All right, and it lines up really easy. Remember, there's always a little white border around your stamped image. So you're just going to go in and you're going to kind of just set it in there and make sure it's all within that die cut area. All right, so now I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to push down the lid and make sure that stamp is picked up. Okay, and now, again, we just want to make sure everything is butt up onto the corner, which it is. I'm using my magnets to hold things down. Now all I need to do is now I'm going to take my die cut piece and I'm going to line it in the jig. Okay, I've got my stamp placed there. I got my die cut back in the jig, and now I am going to use my ink and go ahead and stamp that. Now, because I'm going to be coloring these on screen with my alcohol ink markers, I'm using an ink that is alcohol ink friendly. This one is the Pink Fresh. All right, so normally, if you're always wondering, it will say on the ink pad whether it is alcohol ink friendly. So if we look at the back of this one, acid free and archival for use with alcohol and water-based markers and watercolors. All right, so you always want to make sure that when you are using any type of medium, you have the right ink. It's really important. Every ink is different, and we have so many people that are kind of new into paper arts. I'm just going to grab my stamping tool. That are new into paper arts, and they're like, I just need a black ink. Well, what are you going to use the black ink for? Well, just for stamping, and I'm going to color my images. And we go, well, what are you going to color your images with? Because that's dependent on what ink we give you or sell you. So it's really important to always double check that. Not all inks are alcohol compatible. Not all inks will work with water-based medium, so you always want to double check that. So some of them are hybrids, like this one, the pink fresh one isn't a hybrid, so it's good for both. All right, so I knew that this one was going to be a little dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and switch it out. 1 second. It's funny, I knew that when I grabbed it. Don't take that one, Brenda, because you know it has to be re-inked. So now I'm going, oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, I'm going to use my Hero Arts one. That's one I've been using. And this one, again, is good for both. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, ink that up, and give it a little pressure with my little stamp tool here. All right. And you can go over it again if you find that you didn't get all the spots. Just go ahead and ink that up. This is a larger stamp, so you might find it, larger stamps are always harder to stamp. All right, so there is, now that one is stamped beautifully. All right, now this is where I will take a pair of tweezers, and then I'm just kind of, you want to take this out of the jig now. All right, so we're going to pull that out. All right, and then we'll take our next one and set it in the jig, and now we can stamp it. We don't have to worry about repositioning our stamp. It's just a matter of fitting that back into the jig. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and ink. Now I'm going to go really quickly because I have 4 of these ones and then 4 of the stems. And I'm only doing 1 stamp at a time. I could put the other one in there, but that's just personal preference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, ink again, just to deepen that image up. Sorry, I know I'm probably shaking the camera. All right, that one is good. Let's pop that one out. Now, normally this is not as finicky, but this one here, because of all the leaves and florals and all that, it does get caught on the edges. So normally this little trick works a lot easier and a lot quicker, but because we have all these little extra branches extending out, it gets caught. All right, so this is what we use. We do this all the time when we are mass producing. I'm one of those people at Christmas that mass produce. I do one design and I mass produce. And so I use this technique quite often for myself when I'm doing, my Christmas cards, my thank you cards for an event. So, and I'm just going to deepen that up just a little bit. So just a really good technique, and hopefully you found that technique useful, or that tip useful. All right, so we can pop this one out. And always double check that your jig is pushed into the corner. All right, you don't want anything to move, especially when you're pulling it out. Sometimes the paper will move, so always double check that you have it reset. And we'll do that one more time. Honestly, some of these are stamped beautifully, but I just want to deepen that black. All right, so there is that one. I'm going to hold this one up to the camera so you can really see this lovely floral. All right, so look how pretty that is. All right, and I have it like, almost perfectly aligned on using that jig. And it just makes life so much easier. Okay, so that one is done. I'm going to pull this one off. I'll clean my stamp afterwards, and we're going to do the other one now. So again, I have my jig here. And I am going to take my stamp and just place it in there. All right. So that looks good. Close that up. Again, I made sure everything was still lined up in the corner. And now we can take our die cut pieces, fit them into the jig, and we can go ahead and ink that now. And I'm gonna just one more time. I don't know. I'm with the stamp positioner. I always stamp it twice. This way I know that I've got a really great. I'm just gonna do it one more time because I just got the insides of my leaves here that are a little blotchy. And I'm just not getting enough pressure. There we go. Beautiful. But I always stamp twice. I don't know. I find my sentiments, I like to have them really dark black. And that second stamping always kind of does the trick. So that's a me thing. You don't have to do that. It's just a me thing. All right. I just have 2 more to do. And then we'll go on to our card making. All right, and one more. Okay. And now all our florals are stamped. And I've already taken the liberty of doing our sentiments ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me do that. But I really wanted to show you this technique or this tip because if you've never seen it before, it's kind of mind-blowing, especially if you are one that mass produces. Okay, just return that over there. And we can get rid of this now. And I'm just going to make sure my fingers are clean from the black ink. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to start with that first card here, which is, like I said, this one was one of those cards that we've provided for a make and take. Really easy to do. So we did a kind of a blue and yellow scheme on here. And this is one of the pattern papers from Dare2B Artzy. That's the one with the birds on there. But I love the blue polka dot on there, and I really liked it paired with the yellow. So we're going to layer the pattern paper onto the yellow cardstock and then onto our card front. And then I had a Spellbinder's nesting die. You've seen me use it before. And it's got a scalp stitch, and then it's got the inset piece here. So we've done that in the yellow to do a nice layer again, and then on white here. We also let the stamp the word "Let Hope." All right, and then we've got the die cut word "Bloom" that we will pop up around that. All right. So, but before we get started, we are going to color this really, really quickly. So I'm going to bring my camera down. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Just angle that up a little bit better. Okay. And I'm just going to use alcoholic markers. I'm not going to do anything fancy with this. I'm just going to do straight coloring. I think people really get scared when they hear alcohol ink markers. Because then they think they need a shade, and you don't. All right, you can just color with these, and they're beautiful. What I love about alcohol ink markers is that you don't get that streakiness sometimes that you get with water-based markers. All right, and then you know what I mean. So I'm just gonna grab my blues and my yellows and my greens. All right, let's do that. Oh, and I should have. I'm gonna do a dark brown. Okay, so I'm using Olo markers for this one. I may convert over to my Copics because I don't have all the colors of Olos quite yet. But I'm going to show you basic coloring and I'm going to show you shading. All right, I want to just make sure everyone, for the beginners and the more intermediate ones, that I have you all covered. All right, but you can just color this straight. So when you are doing shading, all right, it's really important that you have a light tone. All right, oops, let's just focus that in, and a darker tone. So I'm not going to explain the whole numbering system of Olo markers or Copic markers, but every color will have a letter, and that usually is coordinated with the color, and then it will have numbers, and those numbers always are the first number will always be the color group. All right, so this one is the zeros. All right, and then it says 0.2. All right, this one will be 0.3. So the lower the second number is, the lighter it will be. The greater the second number, the darker it will be. All right, so I always stay in the same color group. So I'm in the 0 color group, and I have a lighter tone and a darker tone. All right, that's as much as I'm going to explain on the coloring. So I always start with my lighter color. We're going to color, yeah, I'm going to color this blue. So I'm just going to go in and color my petals in blue. I always do the light color first and then work my darker color. All right, so you can just do straight coloring. And I'm going to do all the petals on this one. And then I'm going to bring that up. And you'll notice, let's see if the camera, no streaky marks, no nothing. All right. That's what's the beauty of alcohol ink markers. All right. All right. So that's just basic coloring. Now, if I want to do shading, all right, I'm going to move to my darker color, which is B 0.3. And you can do however you want to do your shading, but I know that the darker tones are normally towards the center. So I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to do kind of a flicking motion down the petal. Okay. So I'm going to bring that up to the camera. And all right, you can see that they're starting to blend. All right, so you're going to see like that lighter going into a darker color. It's as easy as that. All right, now if you find that your darker color is not blending into the lighter color, then I take my lighter color and just kind of where those colors meet, I will just kind of do a flicking motion and just help that blend. And that is all you need to do. I mean, how simple is that? All right. I always think flowers that have larger petals are the easiest, thing to start on when you're starting with shading. And yeah, so anyway, so I'm going to now quickly color the rest of this floral. Maybe I should have pre-colored some of these ones. Well, maybe I just won't do all the cards I had planned. I'll do all the basics and tell you what I'm doing, but maybe I won't do the coloring all on the camera because you're going to be just sitting here watching me color because these are so detailed. All right, so we'll color one in full. I can always put the card together and color afterwards. All right, so there is that. Now, if I hold this up, all right, you can see the difference between the two flowers. The shading really adds to it, but honestly, this one looks just as pretty. All right, because there's no streak marks, that's what makes it so awesome. All right, so now I'm going to do my shading, which I'm starting at the center and flicking down on each petal. All right, so I'm going to do that on all of them. All right, and I'm happy with that. All right, so I've done my shading. All right, so we're going to put the blue away. And the centers of the florals, I'm going to treat these kind of like as an echinacea flower or a cone flower. So we're going to color the centers in dark. So I just grabbed a dark brown. And I am just going to now color in the centers. Flower like this, it doesn't matter what color you use in terms of what color you want to color the flower. It always looks great. Okay, I will show you a little tip and technique at the very end about if you color outside the lines, all right? So let me get all my coloring. Okay, I'm going to move on to the green, and I have a light color. See, I have 1.4. Ooh, let's see, focus, 1.4. This is a yellow-green. 1.4. We want to stay in the same color group, so I'm going to stay in the ones, and I'm going to go darker. So I'm going to go up a number or two, and I'm going to YG 1.6. All right, so they're going to be in the same color group. I'm going to start with my lighter one, and I'm going to do the leaves. These Olo markers, these are the brush tips, so they have a nice kind of point at the tip. So just a light touch and you can get into the really fine areas. All right. I prefer brush tip, and those are the ones we carry in the store. There are different tips. You can get the chisel tip, but I've never had success with coloring the chisel tip. All right. So I like the brush tip. Most people do. So I'm going to just color all the kind of larger leaves in this lighter green. I always get quiet when I'm coloring. It's like this concentration, staying inside the lines. I find if I talk while I'm coloring, that's when I like lose focus and I color outside the lines, or to have a whoopsie outside the lines. But I have a tip and technique for that as well. So that's a cool thing. There's all these creative cover-ups, as I call them. There's no mistakes in crafting. Creative cover-ups. Okay, so I think I have all my larger leaves. I'm going to do this one here. Okay, so looks fine the way it is. All right, but again, I'm going to do the shading, so I'm going to move up to the darker green, and I'm going to do the same kind of flicking. I'm going to start at the base of the leaf and just flick up. All right, so you have to be careful with your flicking, that you keep it in amongst the leaf and don't go crazy like I did in my first one. I went totally outside the line. But I have a way of getting rid of that, so maybe not as forceful of a flick. And I always rotate my image as well. This way I always have the base facing me. All right, so it really does add, that little bit of shading. Now, again, I might have some hard lines where the two colors meet, so I can go in and just add my lighter color where the two, and kind of just still do a kind of flicking motion to help that blend. And there we go. All right, so I'm happy with that. All right, so then I'm going to go to a lighter green. This is, again, this is a yellow green, but this is color family number 8. All right, so I have YG 8.2 and then 8.3. So I have a lighter and then a darker. Now for this one here, I'm going to do the little leaves on here. I'm not even going to shade. I'm not going to try. This is such a small area. I'm just going to go with my darker color here and color them in. All right, so no shading. If you want to, you could, but it's such a small spot. Again, having the brush tip and the very pointy end of this is really great to get into those little nooks and crannies. All right, so you just don't have to push so hard on you just want that tip to just hit the paper. All right, and it creates such a fine line that you're going to be able to color within the lines. No problem. All right, so all my little leaves are there and I'm happy with that. I'm not going to worry about shading or anything. We have little florals left, so I'm going to bring in that yellow now. All right, so I'm going to go in with, I think, this color here. And again, I'm not going to worry about shading. This is such a small flower. We're just going to color. All right, so just going to bring that color right to the end of the petals. All right, so that's done. All right, now the last thing is just we have the centers of these flowers. And they're really, really small. I'm just going to grab my brown again and just dot the centers. And I'm just doing that little tip, just touching the paper and letting it be. All right, don't push too far. We don't want that brown spreading into the yellow. All right, so I'm going to hold that up. All right, so there is that. Look how beautiful that is. All right, so the shading does really add to it. But again, you don't need to do that with alcohol markers. You can just go straight blending. All right, so let's look at Brenda's boo-boos. On this bottom leaf here, let's see, the bottom leaf here, you see I've gone outside the lines here. There's that one, and then I also went somewhere else with the blue, I think. Yeah, the blue, just slightly. Honestly, if anyone noticed that, they don't deserve the card, but I know it's there. So here's what I do. So you can use what is called the colorless blender. Do I have it here? All right, there's a colorless blender. And you can actually take this. To me, this is not a blender. It's more of an eraser, as I call it. All right. You can take the colorless blender. This is 0. And you can go to where you did your whoopsie. And you're going to go right on top of your whoopsie. And you're going to try to kind of push that color back into where it should go. But you have to do this in stages. You have to do it once. Oops, let's go. Once, let it dry, do it again. So you can see that it's lightened up a little bit. I sometimes do not have the patience for that. All right. So that's typically what I don't do. So what I do is I get my favorite paint pen in white. All right, so this is the Art by Marlene. This is a dual, and it's got black on one end, white on the other side. All right, and I love this brush because it's got a really beautiful tip on there. It's got a brush tip, but it's a little bit firmer than what's this here. All right, so what I will do then is I will take this and I will color right over top of my whoopsie. All right. This is acrylic paint in here. All right. So it's really going to go on opaque. All right. And it's going to cover it up. Now, the darker the color that you're covering up, the more coverage it will need. So you might have to do a second coat over it. But lighter colors, oh, it's like beautiful. So now I can go this blue that I messed up on, and I can go right over top. Now, this only works if you're using white paper. All right. So I'm just going to see, I found another one, and I'm just going to cover up my whoopsies with a white paint pen. That is my tip to you. That is the best thing. All right, so I'm going to bring this up. And now my whoopsie is no longer there. It's nice and white. And my whoopsie with the blue over here, no more. All right. So having a white paint pen is going to be your friend. And I do recommend a paint pen, not a gel pen. All right. The paint pen goes on a lot more thicker, not thicker, but more opaque. All right. So, okay. So we have colored that. And now let's put this together. All right. So let's grab my glue. All right. So I'm going to just put my little panels together here. So the white here is going to get framed in on here. And the blue pattern is going to get framed onto the yellow cardstock, which will then go onto my card base. I'm not going to worry too much about the card base right now. And my little yellow panel is just cut ever so crooked. So I'm just going to straighten that up. It's just a tad bit long, so I'm just going to trim that up. All right. Okay, so I'm going to then, you could pop this one up or you could glue it down. For time purposes, I'm just going to glue it down, but we will pop up our floral. All right, so we're just going to center that in. That looks good there. And now I'm going to grab my foam adhesives and let's pop up our floral now. And I'm going to raise my camera up just a little bit now, just because, sorry if I'm making you dizzy. All right. Okay. All right, so we're going to take our floral now, and I'm going to put it towards the left-hand side, and I'm liking it right about there. Now we're pulling in that blue from that pattern. Look how beautiful that is. Love it. Okay, and then we're going to take our bloom. And again, this is all from the stamp set. And we'll take the backings off of this one. And I'm going to stick that kind of right over there. I'm going to stick this flower over top here. All right, and I think, a couple little gems here will finish this off, and that one is done. But look how beautiful that is. And not a whole lot of work. I mean, sure, the background. I mean, a background is just pattern paper and a layered die. That's it. It's the coloring of that beautiful floral that brings it all together. All right, so there is card number 1. All right, so let me do another one here, and let's do this one here, where we're going to do, I'm going to color again. I think a lot of people had asked for me to do a little bit more coloring demos, so I'm going to do that as well. But we're going to do now this guy here, the straight one. All right, so this one I'm following kind of the same kind of design as this one. However, I did not use kind of a specialty layered die for the background. I just cut panels for an A2. All right, so I got my card base that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Then I did a purple cardstock 4 5/4, and then this purple paper, which is a Dare2B Artzy paper. This one here is got the hummingbird. There's a beautiful honey bird with that honeysuckle floral stamp and die set, and this is the matching paper. We're using the polka dot. And we cut that to 3 3/4 by 5. All right, so those are going to get layered on. I'm going to do all my prep work here first, and then we'll go back to coloring. And this one we're going to do in purples. This one should not take me as long because it is the smaller of the 2 images on the stamp set. All right, so all right, so that is all ready. Just a basic card front, pattern paper matted onto a colored cardstock, matted onto our card base. All right, and then this little piece here, I think I'm going to pop up. All right, so this is just a stitched panel. It was from a die from Uniquely Creative, but it's just a stitched rectangle. All right, so nothing real special, and we're going to pop that up. And then our card front is ready to go, and then let's get into the coloring of our floral. And we're going to center this in. All right, easy peasy. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do our flower. And I guess I should bring the camera down again. I can't do it any more than that. Okay. All right, so this one again, we're going to use purples that match. So I think this was going to be a nice one. So we're going to do dark purple. And we've got the greens already. And then we'll add in, I think, that yellow. I like that yellow. Okay, so let's do the same thing. All right, so again, I've got purples here. I started with the color family. This is violet in the color family of number 2. I got 0.4, and I'm going to go up a shade or 2, and we're at 0.6. All right, but both of them start with the same number. All right, so again, I'm going to start with my lighter color. And place my first layer of color down. I'm not a purple person, but this is a pretty color. Just saying. All right, so first layer of color is down. Again, I could leave it like that, but we're going to add shading for all those experts out there and you want to just learn how to shade. And we're going to start at the base and do that kind of flicking motion. All right, it's a gentle flicking. Don't get carried away. All right, I'm going to bring that up to the camera. All right, so you can really see where the dark ends. All right, so this is what I mean. You want to go back to your lighter color, and now you can kind of just flick over top of that to help that blend. And as that dries, because every time you hit alcohol ink with alcohol ink, it kind of rejuvenates it. It will bring it back to life. See, now we don't have those lines and everything's blended. All right, see how that worked? All right, so we're going to keep on doing. All right, second flower. And normally what I will do is I will start with one image at a time. So I will do the one flower first, do my shading, and then go to the next one. And the reason being is that, so my alcohol ink, I mean, it dries really, really quick, but it will still be somewhat saturating that paper and wet to help with that blend. All right, so I always work with one like image at a time. And now we'll do the flicking. Now, cardstock is an important part of, coloring with alcohol ink. There are cardstocks that work much better than others. We stock the actual Olo paper. All right, so that is a super smooth. We also do the hammer mill, which is a good paper, but most people like the Nina paper, and that's what we stock as well in the 100-pound and the 80-pound. All right, or the 110-pound and the 80-pound. All right, so my flower is done. I'm going to go ahead and do my little yellow florals. And again, I'm not going to worry about the shading of this one. The petals are so small. You can. I'm not saying you can't. You can. Going back to the paper, you'll notice that when you start coloring with alcohol ink markers, and if you use a paper that is not meant for that, you'll find that the inks will bleed um, a lot more on certain papers. That's why there are preferences as to papers. So okay, I'm gonna just work on my green now. We're gonna do the same thing. All right, so I'm gonna start with my lighter color and lay down that. So for this one here, I'm just going to work in a bunch of leaves and then do my shading. Oop, went outside the lines there. Thank goodness for white paint pens. Oh, there we go again. It's hard because I can't pull this closer to me, otherwise the camera won't catch it. Just the way my camera is positioned on my table here. So I'm working quite farther away from me than I normally would, so that's my excuse. And I'm sticking to it. All right, I will finish up my little leaves here. All right, and now I can go in and if there's any harsh lines, do the lighter color. All right, and then we have just these kind of tiny leaves on here, and I'm going to do the same green that I used before, but it's missing an action. Where did it go? There it is. And again, I'm not going to worry about shading on these because they're so small. All right, and last but not least, we're going to do the centers of our floral. So I'm going to go in with that dark brown again. You could use yellow on here too. I just think cone flowers have the darker center, so. And I'm not shading on these ones, and I could. And the only reason I'm not shading is because I selected such a dark brown on there that there's no need to. All right, so there is my floral, lovely paint pen, and fix mistakes now. So I have a little bit. So you got to be careful and practice with the paint pen because you don't want to go over the stamped image itself. All right. So you're bringing that white paint to correct. I'm using the wrong one. That's not the paint. I'm like, why is it not going away? It's because I'm using my blender. They look the same. I have, see, white and black and white and black. That's why. All right. So you want to go right up to the stamped line. All right. You don't want to go over top of it because then you lose your outline. Okay, I think I'm good. Somehow I got purple in the center here. So I'm just using my paint pen and covering. It's like a purple fingerprint. All right. Okay, that one is now done. Look how beautiful. Love that purple. Okay, so we're going to grab this guy now. And look how wonderful it's going to be on there. All right, so there is that. And then we're going to grab some of the sentiments. Like I've already, like I said, stamped these. So we have rest, recover, and renew. So I'm going to use kind of this, I'm going to use a floral to kind of help me base where I want these ones and using the spacing. They are going to come off the edge here a little bit, but or do I move this over? Yeah, we're going to do something like so. I'm going to pop all this up. So I'm going to grab my foam adhesives. All right, so this one here, I'm going to have coming kind of, it's going to be slightly off. I just need to stick another foam adhesive. All right. That one is not going to work. Maybe bring it in just a little bit more. All right, so there is that. Sorry, I was kind of off camera there. Sorry. All right, and then we'll do our, I'm going to do my recover. Now, we need strips for this one. Okay, let's get our little sentiments on. And then I want to show you a card with the pattern paper and how to use that. All right. Then I'm going to show you a couple of other kind of cards I was going to do. I'm not sure if we'll actually get to them, but I want to talk about them because the coloring is going to take a little bit longer on those ones, and you'll understand why in a second. All right, so rest, recover, and renew. I love these, keeping all the spacing kind of the same in between them. All right, there is that one. And again, we could finish it off with a couple little gems or pearls on there, but that is beautiful and not that difficult to do. I mean, the coloring is what's going to take you the longest, and the more you color, the better you get and the quicker you get. All right, so there are two lovely cards there. All right, so let's just kind of switch from coloring the stamped images, and we'll come back to those stamped images, but I do want to show you the die cut florals. All right, so this one here is from that paper, so I'm going to bring that out here again. So it won't cut all the flowers out because some flowers will veer to the other side. So it will cut multiples. So I think you're going to be able to get 5 to 6 florals out of this paper. But it's just a nice alternative if you didn't want to color. All right, if you needed a quick and simple card. So for this one here, I found an image. Oh, I just ripped that one off. I bent it. Oh, it's okay. We'll tape it back together. He loves me. He loves me not. I bent it, and then yeah, I was trying to straighten it out, and I ripped it right off. And this paper's thick, so I found a full floral that would match my die, so I trimmed that one out. But then I was trying to get the most out of the paper, and then this one here followed the die too, but it was right along the logo strip. But I'm going to use this. All right, I'm not going to let this go to waste. So I have those two florals there, and we're going to do kind of a center step card here. And I'm using the die from Uniquely Creative. So I'm just going to show you that die. These are awesome. If you are a card maker and you do not have this die set, I highly recommend it. I'm going to bring my camera up again. Okay, I think that's better. All right, so this creates a center step card, and it does all this cutting and scoring for you, and it's just awesome. All right, so this is a center step, and then they also have the side step ones. These have been our #1 kind of card making dies that we got, and they're from Uniquely Creative. This one's going to create the center step. There's no picture on there, but oh yeah, hang on. This is what a center step looks like. All right, that's one we're going to be creating. And this is what a side step. All right, so that's the other one. And both of these work really well with these florals because they fit on the larger step. All right, so, but I'm going to use the center step. So I've already taken the liberty to use the die to cut out my base and my layering pieces, all right? This is what I love about this die because it cuts out the base. Then you've got the stitched overlay pieces for the center and the two sides, all right? So it's kind of a really quick and simple card to create. So I just cut it out of a green cardstock from Uniquely Creative. All right, so it does all the cut lines and it does all the score lines, all right? So I always have it so that the two kind of smaller score lines are at the bottom here. And the first one you're going to do is going to be a mountain and then a valley. And you got to be careful because we just want to fold along the score line. So I just kind of start it. All right. So, and then the next one is going to be the center one, which is going to be a mountain. And again, you just want to get it started. And then the last two are going to be mountains. All right. So you just get them started. And then once you have them started, it will just fall into place here. All right. So you're just going to flatten it. And then you want to take a bone folder and crisp up those folds. Easy peasy. All right. Look how easy that center fold is. Back in the day, we used to have to cut and measure and use a craft knife to cut all our slits and all that. This is just super, super simple. All right. Does it? This is an A2 card. Love it. If you don't own this die, guys, you got to. All right. This is the center step one. And then, like I said, there is the side step one as well. Okay. All right, so then the die also cuts the layering pieces. All right, so we have the layering piece that's going to fit right there. It's going to leave a light, nice little border frame around it, and it will cut the two other pieces here as well. All right, it only has the one die to cut this side piece. You just have to cut that out twice. The paper I used is the back side of that floral paper. All right, so it's got this great green scripty, and it's all about bees and butterflies and flowers, and just, it's lovely. All right, and a nice script. We're just going to go ahead and adhere that down flat. And again, it will frame in. Now, if you find it, I find it easier if I open this up and then frame it in. And it's just going to frame in. All right, leaving a little border all around all the edges. Okay, so that one is done. And then we have the two side pieces. All right, so they're going to go here. And again, they're going to frame in nicely. So just center them in. Okay, and now I can fold this back, and now we have our center step card. Easy peasy, right? Okay, so let's go ahead now and decorate it with our florals. So what I thought here is I would have one floral, and then I really wanted to use this one. So I needed something that would be in the center of our fold. So I just cut out this little tag here. So I thought we would do that one there, and then we'll use the other flower over top. And now I can put my little sentiment here. And I think, maybe not the white. I might go ahead and do this on the yellow, or maybe, but I'll figure it out. I'll put a sentiment on there, right? So now I'm using that piece that's got the logo strip on it, but I'm tucking it behind an element, all right? So I could have done a stitched rectangle. This tag just seemed perfect for this application. And I have florals hanging off the edge, all right? So that's what I'm gonna do. So let's go ahead and glue the tag onto our partial floral from our pattern paper. And like I said, I wanted to use as much as I possibly could from this paper. And that one, again, had the logo strip on there, so that wasn't going to work for me very well. But all right, so we're going to do that. And then I'm going to take my other floral, and I'm going to pop this up on this side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue my tag down. And then I'll figure out the sentiment on that one. All right, so I'm going to center this top to bottom, and I'm going to have it slightly hanging off of my card front, or card top. That looks good. All right, so there is that. And now I can take this floral and I'm going to pop this one up. All right. And yeah, something like that. All right, and I have to put my other floral on top. All right, so we want to make sure we have that spot there for it. So I'm going to grab my foam adhesive. And so I need to be mindful where I'm putting my foam adhesives because it is hanging off the edge. So if I go right about there. All right, and then I'm going to grab my little flower head that I pulled off by accident. And that is going to go right That's too big. All right, look how pretty that is. Sorry, it was off camera there. I was fixing my little, so I kind of put a little bit of glue on the ripped edge there, put a pop dot, and no one should notice that except for all of you that know that it's there, but all right, and then I'll add a little sentiment. I think I like the word bloom. All right, but I don't like it on the white. It's a little too stark. So I'm going to either do it on a yellow, or I'm going to take this inside green piece from the cardstock and do bloom, and then maybe, what are the other little words here? Bloom. Let Hope Bloom or Bloom with Courage. I'll use one of those ones, but and I'll take a picture of these, of course, and then we'll post them so you can see the finished results. But that one's really cute, right? So that's using the pattern paper with that. And like I said, I will finish that one up off camera with Bloom in Hope, or Let Hope Bloom. Maybe that's what we'll do. Let Hope Bloom. I don't think with Courage is going to fit on there. So if we do Let Hope Bloom, I think that's going to fit on there really nicely. And then I'll just add a few little gems to finish that up, and maybe a little bit of ribbon on top. All right, so that is card number 3. Okay, so let me just kind of talk about the other cards I was planning on doing, but looking at the time, we're at that 1 hour mark. So I'm going to do it off camera, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. When I looked at this piece here, the larger floral, all right, that's rounded, I thought, what a cool to make kind of like a frame for an A2 card. All right, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to color these, and then I'm going to mount it onto an A2 card. And then we'll have a sentiment in the inside. And I think that'll be really pretty awesome. All right, so I like the fact that that those kind of made a rectangle when you put them together, which I thought was really, really unique. So I'll color those off camera, and then I'll mount them on some cardstock with a little lovely, like even like if I put bloom, all right, like that's really, really pretty. So I'll do something with that. So that'll be one design that I'm going to do. I thought also for scrapbookers and anyone that journals and such, or mini albums, this also would be a lovely little piece if you had a photo to kind of frame your photo. All right, so because it's got those kind of leafy pieces, you know, you can actually take and kind of intertwine it within those leaves and such. All right, so you can kind of like hook that on, which I thought would be a lovely element for your scrapbookers. All right, so, or journalers. I mean, you could do it on a card as well, but I just like the fact that you can do that. And I think this would make a great set for anyone that does layouts as well. So, you know, stamps are not just for card making. All right, they are for layouts as well. All right, so we're going to do one card, or I'm going to do one card off camera that will have that. The other one I wanted to do is I wanted to do a pop-up box. So I'm going to start with this one and put in the box together. And then I will I'm going to use one of the larger florals and 2 of the smaller florals to build my flowers inside into my pop-up box. All right, and I'll explain that in a second. I'm not going to go through the coloring, but I do want to put together this box to show you. All right, so this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to color those and attach that to it'll probably be a white card or a pale pastel card. I'll probably emboss the card front panel and then just color these and add them. Easy peasy. All right, this one here is another uniquely creative die to make a pop-up box. All right, so let me just grab the die. Sorry, my die is in kind of a mess here, but you get the larger die that's going to create, you'll need to cut 2 of those to create a box. Then it's got these layering elements, and each of these squares are different. One's a rounded corner, one's a straight corner, one's a scalloped square, and one is a stitched square. And those are the layering pieces for your box, all right? So it will create I don't know if I showed you the picture. It will create a little pop-up box. And then there's another rectangle die in here, which mine, I'm not sure where it is. I gotta go, oh, I gotta find where that is. But it will create the strips for the inside of your box. And so I'm gonna show you how that goes, but I should find that. I know my die fell, and that's probably why I don't have the, oh, I know where that is. Maybe I don't know where it is. Okay, doesn't matter. I will find that die. Um, I just disturbed my cat who's sleeping on the bed in the room here, and he's not happy with me. All right, but I'll find that die. It just cuts the inside strips of it. Okay, so to create one of these pop-up boxes, you need to cut two pieces, all right? And when you cut two pieces, this is your card base. So you want to make sure you make it out of cardstock that, you know, has some sturdiness to it. You'll have, everything will be cut and scored. So I'm going to just kind of fold these along the score line here, all right? And use my bone folder and then unfold. All right, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this one and unfold. Then we have the little tabs, and the tabs, we're gonna do little mountain folds on there. And we're gonna do that on both of them. All right. So all we're gonna do now is we're going to have this panel positioned with the tab on the right hand side. We're going to put adhesive here, and then we're going to grab this panel and attach it so that now we have this continuous piece. All right, we've just pieced the two together. So let's go ahead and do that. So when I do this, I normally will use double-sided tape, something that's strong. So I like my sequin tape. So I'm going to actually, maybe I should have used my wider tape. So I'm going to do one layer, and then I like to put glue on there as well, because that gives me a little bit of play time to get things in position. All right, so the glue acts as a little barrier before it really sticks. So you want to put that right up to the score line. All right, and now we have one continuous piece. All right. Then you can fold that. All right, and fold it in half. And now, actually, you're going to open it up. I flipped it to the back side. All right, now this piece here, the little tab. All right, so let me just do that over again. All right, so we've connected the two. This is the good side. All right, now you're going to flip it over. So now the tab is on the left-hand side, and this is the bad side, which will be the inside of our box. You're going to flip your tab over, and you're going to put your adhesive on there. All right, so we flipped it over. All right, we folded it over. We put our adhesive on. A little bit of glue. All right, and now all you need to do now is fold this over. All right, and it's going to match up perfectly. And just let that glue set. I'm going to burnish it. All right, and then now we have our box. All right. Now this will fold flat. This will fit in an A2 or square envelope. All right, not an A2, square envelope. And then when the recipient opens it up, it will kind of like take form into a box. All right, now these panels here, you can fold down, and that creates a little box lids. All right, so again, they will fold down. Before I go ahead and fold them down, I do want to decorate the outside. All right, so I'm going to do that. So I just cut some of the little papers from the birdie paper. All right, and I use the scalped square from the set. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to glue them on. This is just a great way of using pattern papers and mixing and matching patterns. But I just kept it simple. I'm just doing the birds on the outside. All right, so that's the outside of my little box now. All right, so there is that. All right, now these little flaps are going to fold down. So I'm going to fold my box and then just fold them down and then crisp them up with my bone folder. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then we're going to decorate the flaps on this one. So you can decorate the front and the back. I'm just going to decorate the back because that's what's going to be like kind of presented when this pops open. All right. So you can do both. I'm just doing the one. So this is going to be the inside of the flaps. And then I just chose the polka dot pattern for that. All right, so we have all our little pattern papers on here. And I love the fact that the die comes with this all right? So you don't have to measure or cut. It does it all for it. All right, so this will fold close. And again, you can decorate these flaps. I chose not to. All right, so then when it will pop up as a box, and then these come down. All right, so we have this pop-up box. Now, the inserts that are supposed to go in there that I do not have die cut, which I should have, but I don't know where my die is. I will find it. But I'm just going to cut ones really quickly. Like I said, there is a die that will be belongs to this, but I'm just going to cut a couple of strips really, really quickly, and we'll just pretend that I did die cut them. All right, so we're going to do 3.5. Okay, so I'm just going to use 2 strips. Sometimes people will put 3. I'm going to just use 2 in there. No, I'll do 3. I'll do 3. Why not? Okay, so the strips that the die cut will do are very similar to what I am doing here. They will have score lines on them. I'm not quite sure if they're as wide as this. They might be slightly narrower. Okay. Back in business. All right. So they'll have strips like this. They'll have a score line on either side. We're going to fold these, and these are the little tabs that will attach to the inside of the box. All right. So I'm going to put double-sided tape on these little tabs. I'm going to fold them all first. And again, use your bone folder to crisp up those folds. All right, and let's put now tape. I'm rushing now. I'm miffed because that die wasn't in my set, but that's because I didn't store it properly. My packaging is horrendous. So I'm pretty sure it's in the basket with the rest of my dies. But I will find it. And I know that I also spilled a couple of dies on the floor, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I will find it though. This was an easy fix. All right, so I'm going to take my tabs now. I'm going to take. Now you can do this before you construct the box as well. I sometimes find it better to do it when the box is constructed because then I can space them out where I want them. All right. So we're just going to put them in, and they're going to get lined up right to the top. All right. And then, all right. So there is my first tab, and then just make sure you burnish it. Now, the goal is when you have your tabs in there that it will still lay flat. All right. So that um, is really important. All right. So there's our first little insert. They don't go past the top of our box. All right. And you can set them in a little bit further in if you want. I always line mine up to the top. That's just a me thing. All right. So let's put tab number 2 in there. And like I said, you can do 2 tabs. You can do 3 tabs. I don't know if 4 tabs will fit in there, but so this one here, I normally will line up to these tabs. I will line up to where the other tab ended. All right. And I'm going to do my 3rd tab. All right, so all 3 tabs are in, and I'm just making sure everything is burnished. And now I can still fold it flat either way. All right. So now we can decorate our tabs, and this is where the florals are going to come into effect. So these are not colored. I'm not going to attach them yet, but now I can have them and I can adhere these to the tabs. Now the goal is that you don't want to interfere with the folding. All right, so you just want to keep it in amongst the parameters of the little tabs in there, or the little dividers in there. And now we can create this little pop-up floral garden, and that this will all lay flat. And then you'll have to just find an envelope that's going to accommodate the height of this one, because this one's pretty high. And I'm going to use all the larger one and 2 smaller ones. And then you can vary the height of these ones to create a lovely little flower garden. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to color these ones and add them on. We'll add a little bit of a sentiment on the front here. And then that one will be done. All right. So that is our little explosion pop-up card. All right. So again, I'm going to use the stamped images. I'm going to color them the same way I showed you with the first and second card. And then I'm going to attach them on there. I'll take detailed pictures of this to show you how that's created. But what a fun and little expressive card, and just makes you smile, especially with all those florals in there. A very springy, summery card for the recipient. All right. So that's our box card. And then don't forget, I will do this lovely frame card, working with the larger the flower, creating that frame. And then we did using our pattern paper florals, and I'll add a sentiment onto that one. And then our 2 kind of, I want to call them simple cards, but they're really not, but they are, but they're beautiful, using the Dare2B Artsy Let Hope Bloom set. All right, so that's it for me this evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I hope you liked our Dare2B Artsy stamps, but I do encourage you, like I said, to check out the other ones. There's a hummingbird one, there's a bird one, I think there's a butterfly one with bumblebees as well, so check it out. Also check out their sentiments sets as well, where they'll have just a 4x6 set of all different sentiments. The fonts on them are really, really fun. Just a reminder, we use the 2 dies from Uniquely Creative, the pop-up box as well as the center step. In case you're looking for those, we do have those in stock as well. All right, I hope that you enjoyed the little coloring tips and techniques that I shared with you, as well as the stamping techniques as well, if you're mass producing. And finally, I will take pictures of all my finished samples. We'll post them, whether it be tonight or tomorrow morning, either or. You'll find them on our Facebook page, and I'll try to remember to post them in the comments of our YouTube video as well. All right, so that's it for me, everyone. Thanks again for joining us live and on the replay. And we'll be back next Wednesday for What's Up Wednesday. Until then, everyone, have yourself a creative week. Bye.